What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video, and today we're going to be going over how to use Strike Force in Super People. We're going to be going over what his abilities do, what his perks are, what his class weapons are, and most importantly, what his ultimate ability does. So if that sounds interesting to you, or you want to learn how to play him, or what his abilities do, make sure to stick around, and let's just hop right into it. I just want to mention here quickly that I will have an entire playlist linked below with a video for each specific class. So when you're done watching this video, if you have any other questions about any other class in the game, about what their abilities do, what their perks are, or what their specialized weapons are, I will have a playlist link down below that goes over every single class in the game. So feel free to check there. I'll have a link down in the description and as well in the cards above. I also do stream basically daily throughout this beta as well, as I'll be streaming a whole bunch when the game fully releases. So if you have any other specific questions, or if I skipped over anything in the video that you wanted to go more in depth about, I will be live down there. That'll be linked down in the description below. I'm usually live around in the evenings, standard Eastern time. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop right into the main video. Next up, we have Strike Force. Now, Strike Force is one of my favorite classes, although he does have one drawback, which I'll get to in a minute, that I don't really like. Although other than that, I think he's really strong and really powerful, and I like playing him. He's just kind of fun. I don't know if he's like top class where, you know, you're going to be picking him every time in a tournament for money, but he is pretty fun to play. If you're just running around in pubs, he's pretty fun. If you want to get some high kill games, he's really fun and interesting, and you could do a lot of outplays with him. But he mostly just goes fast. He uses SMGs, he goes fast. You can see in this little video here, you know, he runs really fast with his ultimate. He has a little shield that when he takes damage, he puts down, so you can lean around it. He has a fast tack slide in. So his ultimate, again, is a dash. As you can see in the video, it shows it right here. He goes really fast. He runs really fast. And then if you keep that momentum and jump, he can also jump really high and get some distance with his jump as well, if you use that momentum from sprinting forward into your jump. But, you know, there have been a lot of games where I've got fights because I just, you know, run around somebody a bunch of times, and I've been killed by it too a lot, where somebody's just running and I can't even keep up with them without, you know, throwing my elbow out. Trying to keep up with them. Nice for positioning. You know, if you need to move across an open field or something, you just dash across and you're pretty safe. A really good ultimate. I love this ultimate. It's really fun to play with in pubs. First up here, he has +5 damage. As you can see, he only has SMGs. I said he's more of like a run and gun, get close on somebody kind of kit. Kind of a counter to Shotgun Master. Only with SMGs, you know, instead of a really high jump, he has a really fast run. Instead of shotguns, he has SMGs for close range. You know, kind of the opposite to Shotgun Master, except I think even if you don't like running SMGs, he's still really good to play, unlike Shotgun Master, which we've talked about a bunch. But he has +10, 15, 20% damage for his specialized weapons, whichever one you roll randomly. Pretty self-explanatory there. Same as all the other ones that get, you know, +10, 50% damage with their class weapon. Every single Legend has this, so not really anything special here. He has rapid fire, which increases the SMG rate, fire rate, and magazine capacity of SMGs, which is really powerful. So it's similar to Gatling Gunner, where you get extra magazine capacity for SMGs, except this time it gives you an extra fire rate as well, which something like an Uzi that already shoots really fast and can magged up down range really fast. You know, if you get +15% SMG fire rate, is pretty powerful, especially with the magazine capacity, because something like an Uzi, you put so many shots down range so quickly, you run out of ammo really fast. You know, having that extra magazine capacity kind of offsets the downside of having a really fast fire rate, which is you shoot so fast that you may not hit a lot of shots because you expend all of your bullets so quick. But, you know, having that extra larger capacity helps kind of offset that. Next up, we have lacerating rounds. Now, I'm not sure what this means by smart bullet. I'm pretty sure this is similar to the Gatling Gunner smart bullet as to where it kind of aims a little bit for you, but I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't really explain. Although it does have a bleeding effect, so if you hit somebody with a bullet, they'll have a little bit of a bleeding effect. They'll take a little bit of extra damage after they get hit with a bullet for 1, 2, or 3 seconds, depending on the level that you have of this perk. But it's pretty strong, because if you hit somebody and they're down to like 1 or 2 HP, and then they have a bleeding effect, they're going to die. I think yesterday, one of the first days of the beta, I died to a lacerating effect. And I was honestly really confused for a minute because I didn't know what was going on. But the bleeding effect can be really powerful. I don't think it would necessarily win you a fight that you wouldn't have won otherwise. However, it makes those fights that you win a little bit easier. It's not going to add a whole ton of damage onto your damage per second, but it will, you know, kind of freak them out a little bit, or maybe get them down a little bit on health to where you need to hit less shots when you re-pick them again. It may make it a little bit easier to win the fight, but I don't think it would necessarily be the only reason you win a fight. I think, you know, you'd probably win a fight anyways, even without this. But it is super nice to have. Pump that damage number up per game. Next up, you have Bulletproof Shield. So this gives you Bulletproof Shield, like we saw in the little intro video. When you get hit, it will immediately place down a shield in front of you. And then level 2, level 3 just increases the health and lowers the cooldown of it. So this, kind of a funny story with this one. I got killed by this twice in one session the first day we started playing because I didn't know what this shield was. I forgot it was even a thing when we started playing. The first time I died to it, the enemy had it, so I was running towards the enemy and I shot him, and his bulletproof shield went in front of me and stopped me from running, and he just lined up a headshot and just shot me, and I died because I was just being blocked by his shield. And then the second time it happened in reverse, except it's the same situation. He shot me and my shield got placed down, and I forgot I even had the shield. So I ran into my shield expecting to keep running, and I was just running in a straight line with my head peeking out, wondering what the hell happened. And he just had easy kill on me. So definitely, if you're running this class, be sure to keep an eye on if you have your shield up or not. And even just besides the fact of trying not to be an idiot like I am, it's a really nice perk to play around because you have a shield. You know, if you're caught out in the open in the road and you have this perk, you know, you could chill for a second and maybe shoot back your enemy to allow you to get back across the street. So it's a really nice, powerful perk to have. Next up is long range defense. So this is pretty helpful because, you know, if you're running this class, you're probably going to be running SMGs as one of your two guns. So you may not have a super long range option to be able to shoot back at somebody who is over 120 meters away. So being able to take less damage from those enemies is super powerful, and it can allow you to close that distance, because if you're 150 meters out and they're shooting at you for that first 30 meters, you're going to be taking significantly reduced damage, which is kind of nice. Combine that with your shield is pretty powerful. And then once you get within that 120 meters, combine that with your dash, you can close that distance really fast without taking too much damage. Lastly, for the green perks, we have Brave Assault, and you get damage and defense increases when you're moving fast. Now, I don't know exactly what it means when it says moving quickly. I don't know if this is just meaning, you know, sprinting while firing, or if there's some arbitrary speed value that you have to get above. So, you know, maybe even if you're crouching, but you're still above a speed threshold, it still counts. I don't know. It doesn't say anything about that. So I'm assuming this just means, you know, if you're sprinting and firing, you're going to be doing more damage and taking less damage back, which is kind of nice because, again, this is just a run and gun SMG class. Get close to them, fire. So, you know, being able to take less damage and dish out more damage while sprinting around an opponent, especially combined with the dash, if you're trying to close the gap between somebody, you're going to be taking so little damage with that, you know, you can close that gap really easily and be at decent health when you want to take the fight. And using the dashing ability just increases its effect even more. However, I don't know how much it increases it by. Next up, we have Airwalk, which increases your airwalk effect. So if you don't know, if you jump and then you kind of hold and spam spacebar, you can get a little bit further in the air. You can kind of walk a little bit in the air as you're jumping, which can help you get, you know, if you're jumping from one rooftop to another rooftop, you know, you might be able to cross the gap by airwalking, where you might not be able to if you're just regularly jumping across. It can help you get to even level rooftops easier. It can be used in a lot of different situations, and it's pretty nice to have a little bit of an increased airwalk. Now, the wording on this is kind of weird, and like I said, I'm not super sure. I haven't done a ton of testing on every single one of these classes, so I'm not entirely sure, but level 1 says you no longer take damage when falling from high locations, and then level 2 says HP does not decrease even when falling from high locations. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if one just means you don't do the animation when you fall. I don't know if it's just you take reduced damage at level 1, then no damage at level 2. I'm not entirely sure. If you're taking less damage, if you're taking less fall damage, especially with that airwalk bonus, so you can kind of stay on rooftops and in the air and on, you know, kind of high places, high strategic advantage places, better without as much of a risk. You know, it's always a benefit in my book, even if you're not playing, you know, with an SMG. And then level 3, you have an increased airwalk effect again, and then jump speed is improved, and then you have improved crosshairs while jumping and shooting as well. And level 2 gives you jump shot accuracy, so you can kind of jump around, mess up your opponent's aim, jumping around and sprinting around them without really affecting your ability to hit them back. Which is kind of nice. Next up, you have Tac Slide, which I'm pretty sure is the exact same Tac Slide as Gatling Soldier. Like I said, Not my favorite ability, mostly just because I either A, don't have it, or B, just forget I have it and don't really want to rely on it in a fight if I may not even have it. But it is kind of nice if you know you have it or you play this character a lot. It can be a really nice thing to have and rely on. Like I said, if you're going through a doorway or something, you slide through the door and mess up your opponent's aim, and then combine that with the jumping and shooting accuracy increase. You can really mess up your opponent's aim and win a fight really easily by just movement. And then we have shoot and run, which just increases your movement speed when shoulder aiming and aiming down sights. Now, the difference between these two, shoulder aiming is like in third person. If you're playing third person, where it zooms in, but it doesn't ADS, where it gives you increase. It's if you hold right click by default, I'm pretty sure, where it zooms in a little bit, gives you better crosshair. It zooms in on your shoulder, gives you a tighter hip fire spread at the cost of some movement speed. And then there's aiming down sights, which is like looking down a red dot sight or a 4x sight. That's ADSing, aiming down sights. So no matter which one of those two you do, I know especially with SMGs, shoulder aiming is a little bit more powerful than ADSing, especially in close range fights where you can lose people in a scope pretty easily versus just straight hip firing and not having that increased hip fire compared to shoulder aiming. But this gives you some movement speed as well. So if you are shoulder aiming or ADSing, you can kind of strafe your opponent. You can strafe around your opponent, meaning they hit less shots. So this class is really about close range engagements, and I think is better overall for close range engagements than Shotgun Master, because a lot of his movement stuff is usable even if you're not running an SMG, even if you're not running a class weapon. A lot of his movement tech is a lot more usable than Shotgun Master. So I think overall Strike Force is just a better Shotgun Master. Like, I feel like if they gave Shotgun Master movement and just more general stuff versus just straight shotgun or just straight SMG, I think Shotgun Master would have been better. If they make him a little bit more like Strike Force, just with shotguns instead of SMGs, he'd be a little bit better. But Strike Force, I think, is really powerful. He's a fun kind of pub stopper just to get in fights with, move around, and kind of, juke out your enemy. He's pretty fun to play.